So I was asked to look at whether the county held these properties by easement or fee simple title. So I looked at the documents. I will say that I had already looked at these documents before the vacation resolution. Scott Miners had me look at them, specifically provided the easement documents. So I've looked at those recorded easement documents, and I have copies of them here. They are in fact conveyances of easements. I think people are probably getting hung up on the word sell, but what was sold was actually the easement. So if you read within both the conveyance documents, it refers to conveying or selling for road purposes and use as a public highway. So that's actually granting an easement. So as I concluded before we did the resolution, or the board did the resolution, the county does hold it by easement, not by fee simple title.
Just for everybody knows, these are the Herricks right here, which they
Okay.
they're the ones that hold the property.
Okay.
So I guess that will be with them, you know.
So I guess the conversation, it's kind of tough without the engineer being here. He's off today because of personal things with having a baby and everything, is what I understand. Is that correct? So I guess give him that. I guess our discussion here would be more directed at, it sounds like we did the proper thing in conveying, back to them and without need. But I guess the discussion we've had previously, did we do the right thing by leaving it in the condition that it's in? I think. Is that what we're trying to discuss?
Yeah. Normally, my experience has been that the owner of the land requests a bring back to the county, not the county itself. So I'm not sure that totally negates what we were talking about.
Yeah, I guess in the past, we have had requests, we'll have a road in the middle of a section, two sections, and somebody farms both sides and they want to vacate the road, take over the whole thing. We haven't had that situation.
Sure. I also, just to pitch in, I also think it's pretty normal. I don't know how many times we've had it happen, but it's pretty normal where the county has land that we're not using for any reason that we want to get rid of.
But we do that in conjunction with the owner of the land. We just don't arbitrarily do it.
Well, under the code, under these conditions, you could do it without the public hearing. I'm not sure if that's what you're getting at, but.
Just for courtesy's sake itself.
Well, that's not a conversation for me, I guess, but that's not the legal side of it. I'm just saying the procedure, in my opinion, was fine.
Yeah.
Legally.
Well, and when this, you weren't here before, but, and again, maybe this is not a discussion for you, but where I feel it was very deceptive on Scott's part, we were having this discussion about this problem up in that area. And the discussion was ongoing between Scott and I and Sean Helgeson about what to do and whatever. And in fact, it wasn't too long before this thing happened here a few weeks ago that I called him to find out, well, what's the plan? And that's exactly how it was said to him as far as what to do with this channel of water or whatever. Nothing was said about his plan to vacate the premises without the Herrick's knowledge, anything like that. And there's 50 years of mess that has been created up there, and now he wants to throw it over the fence back to the Herricks, and I think that's pretty deceptive on his part.
And that's, not really a conversation for me. I will note, I was looking at the code provisions again under that chapter 306, just in preparation. Just so everybody's aware, even if we had done a public hearing, even though we weren't required to, the only claim for damages a property owner would have is if there's a homestead on the property and our vacating the road somehow alters or denies that homeowner access to the property. So in regard to any damages on a vacation, I'm not sure that either property would qualify for that, even if there had been a public hearing, just so everybody's aware. Now, whether the board wants to do something about the mess would be up to the board, but under the code, the only damages are if there's a home and access is changed or denied.
Kind of like borrowing someone's car and then trashing it and bringing it back to them and letting them clean it out.
That's a discussion for you guys, not me. I'm just saying the legal side of things.
Yeah, and I've always thought that if it's legality wise, it was probably done.
Mhm.
So I guess the question for the Herricks would be, what would be your preference on how it's handled? You don't want anything to do with it, you want the mess cleaned up, I don't know, what are you looking at?
We didn't even know we owned the property, you know.
It was before your time.
Yeah. I mean, we inherited the property, just 5 years ago, and, it just seems to me that what a coincidence that, you know, you're talking water drainage and all of a sudden it's vacated and it's our problem. At the time that it was sold, according to the document that I found, it was being farmed. The county actually paid for some destruction of soybeans, and there's no way you'd ever get back in there and farm. I mean, it's cottonwood trees, willow trees, brush. You know, it's just a mess.
It would cost as much as the land is worth to clear it.
Oh, absolutely. And
It looked like there was a row of trees that were planted for some reason, it was a nice road.
it might have been along the old road bed, maybe. I don't know.
It was on what would have been the west side of the old road bed. There's a row of trees, kind of, I don't know if they're cottonwood or what they are. They look like the lighter colored leaves.
Nothing that I ever, and I've been out there
But I don't know if the
43
county
years.
planted that afterwards or after they took it over or whatever it was. But I guess the part that concerned me out there was, Al, and maybe you guys can help with this. In the center where you really can't see of that triangle, it looks like there's dead trees laying there on that property. Is that where the dam was, or where was the dam?
The other day, when Bill and I walked up in there, you can walk up to where they took a channel through the old road there where the water comes. There was about 3 different beaver dams that had taken place up in there, you know.
Where across the old road?
Yeah, across the old road and then into the,
It's hard to see on those pictures.
Yeah. but what's going on there, there's a now, and my son was up in there when it was bad, you know, and I was not, because I didn't want to walk through deep water, because that's what was going on this spring. But anyway, they've at this point cleaned some stuff out there, but there's a much wider channel at the top end than there is the bottom end, at the way it stands today. You know, it narrows way up to just yay wide, you know, right before it goes underneath the road, whereas up by the old road where the channel to it, it's quite wide. I don't know how many feet you call that, Bill? You know, just with a guess. It was several feet across there.
Oh, the water itself?
Yeah, where it was coming down along the east side and through the old road.
Yeah,
and
it
then,
was,
but you couldn't see back beyond,
no,
going to the
and
northwest.
that's where we thought we could maybe hear some water,
Yeah,
like it was running through another beaver dam possibly.
yeah.
Uh,
So I don't know how deep the old channel was, you know, like when it went underneath the road and whatnot there. But it's filled in and narrowed up as it goes to the northwest.
Click your X down there. Underneath that tree, there's an X.
But it's a lack of care over the last 50 years that it's just making this thing to turn into a disaster up in there.
no, we walked in from about here, you know, we ended up in there and the channel, I don't know how far we got in.
I think go a little bit farther down, Bill.
Yeah, was it about to there? I mean, there, it looks like there's a channel there, but it seemed to be much wider in here
Yeah,
than it did.
So, now, when I was looking at it, these look like the tall trees that I was talking about, that row. So the old road bed probably was here, or it was there, maybe they just took the old curve out and planted trees in it. I don't know. But then when I looked over here in this area, it looked like I could see the tops of dead branches, like old dead branches. To me, that part of it is kind of the fuel for the dam. I mean, that's what they can easily drag wherever.
well, I think it all is, Terry. I mean, as
Yeah,
far as, the willows are just,
They're nibbling off them little
Yeah,
sucker willows
it's-
and,
this spring when we were up in there, Jeff would clear that out a little bit to try to get the water to go down, and within just 2 or 3 days, the beer had that built back up again and holding water back. So, I mean, they were pretty active up in there and just tons of fuel for them to deal with. So this is where Sean and I, the conversation we had with Scott this spring was, well, what needs to be done there is actually get in there, clean these willows out away from that ditch, and basically dig a new channel through that, so it'd be easy to monitor, for one thing, to see what's going on, and because now there's just no way to monitor it at all. And that's where it ended.
certainly not when it's wet.
No. That's where he decided, I guess, that it was easier to abandon the property than to try to deal with it.
Now, I do know this is law because we dealt with it, in other situations up in Norway Township, we dealt with it with Sonora Holt. If trees grow up in the right of way for the main tiles at County, it is the landowners or who has control over it. It's their responsibility to remove those trees and keep them from plugging tiles.
That could be right, I'd have to look it up,
Yeah.
I guess I haven't had that
That's a
question,
dead old
but,
tree. It's a great big huge tree back in there.
To me, that kind of bothered me there.
I don't know whether that blew over
That wasn't down earlier this spring.
or whether they knocked it over with the excavator. I don't know if they either blew over or they took it down. But,
We had to climb through it.
yeah, we climbed through it to continue on south. And,
So, in your opinion, then, it comes down to all the problems are peripheral to you, correct? We gotta come up with something that, who's responsible?
well, if I'm understanding your question, I think the question for you guys, so you've already vacated it, right? We can't take back an easement we've given away unless, of course, if that's something you wanna do, they could convey
We'd give it back right
an
now.
easement if that's what the county wants. I don't know that that's the end result that you guys are looking for. If you want to determine that it's in the public purpose or public good to pay for X amount of cleaning up the damage, I mean, that's up to you guys. You have to make a finding that it's for a public purpose though.
yeah, it's either gotta have an agreement to clean it out and bring it back to the farmable standard, or the county, as far as I'm concerned, reverse the process and have the county take the easement back or whatever.
Yeah, we can't reverse the process. It'd have to be a new easement.
New easement or whatever,
Yeah.
well, that would be the same thing as
Right.
reversing it in a sense.
The problem with that would be, it would be an easement for road purposes, which obviously it's not a road, so. That would be something, if you're looking at that route, let me know and I can kind of look into that. Just not sure how that would work since we're not really using it for road purposes, obviously.
Yeah, well, it was,
If we could do it to avoid a lawsuit. So it comes down to the three of us. I don't think Scott acted, I think he went above and over his authority level. This is something that should have been brought before the board, in my opinion. before.
The whole situation should have been communicated to us, because they had no idea that this whole process was gonna happen, and we didn't either. We were just told that we were vacating property that, we didn't need anymore, in a sense, and let it go back to the landowners. We didn't know that there was a whole story behind it all, or it would have never happened. If we'd have heard the whole story ahead of time, there would have never been reversal of the easement.
I'm just gonna remind the board so we don't stray. If you're going to talk about the professional competency of an employee, he has to have notice and he has the right to have it go into closed session. So I would like to avoid that discussion since Scott is not here.
Well, I'm very surprised that, and I'm disappointed myself that I thought that Sean and I had a conversation going with Scott about this whole thing. And I had never visited with the supervisors, which I would have done that had I thought any of this was gonna happen. But I thought Scott was gonna be above board in the whole thing to deal directly with Sean and I. And if he would have said, no, I'm not gonna do a thing, I'm considering vacating, well, I would have gone with the supervisors. So I'm feeling kind of guilty about not running up the flagpole farther. I didn't realize that was gonna have to
There
take
again,
place.
she brought up a great legal point.
Yeah.
Let's leave Scott out of it.
Unfortunately, this is gonna have to wait until next week.
I guess I would just appeal for decency and an honorable resolution to this.
Yeah.
Did this just come up this year because it was a wet year? Is that fair
Well,
I
statement?
can't tell you. I don't know why it came up this year.
You know, if
Well,
this is gonna be the wettest year for the next 75 years, it seems like a
There was a
long.
lot of water standing out there, and they needed to get some stuff cleaned out, which you cleaned out by the tile, right, or by the culvert?
The box collar,
Yeah. you
That was,
cleaned out
that was
by-
the easy thing to see if there was a problem, was right by the road, because that was plugged up there.
And then the beaver dams, and it had chest deep water in it this spring, which there was a lot of places that had chest deep water this spring. But, so it all came about just because of the drainage issues, and then what was gonna need to be done, and,
I think the problem's been there for a while. Over the
Well, I
last
would
2
guess.
years, I've cleaned small ones, right, in the road right away. Two small ones. One on the north side that Ron Penning actually just hired us on his own to do. Then one on the south side initially this spring that Scott gave me, or Mark gave me the authority to do. And then I think the water just kept coming out, and either Al or his son Jeff got the ambition to go out, and we found a whole lot more of it. And so that problem's been there. That did not just come around this year.
yeah, but everything shows up more when there's,
Yeah.
lots and lots of moisture. So it's,
And if this was farmable in 71 or whatever, the county is really going to.
Probably the part that was farmable was where we put the
With
road.
these trees, it's just.
The road took up the good farmland.
I'm sure it was farmable, and the county wouldn't have given the
Well,
amount that they gave.
on that purchase amount, there was crop damage.
Yeah.
Or what,
yeah, for soybeans. Yeah.
so soybeans. So I mean, we went from one state to a bad state of condition here.
Is it actually part of a drainage district?
No drainage districts in that neighborhood.
And back.
So that makes it harder for us being landowners upstream to sign a petition to have something maintained, because you can't do that, you know.
Because you
it's-
can't do anything with the
Yeah.
drainage district.
So the land to the east there, is that, WRP?
It's nothing.
Farmable land?
It's, basically the north quarter of that farm is basically unfarmable. It's just a wetland, They got a couple little pockets in there, where attempted to be farmed, but it's, primarily a mess. So it's the south quarter that drains into this, and then the land to the east, that drains into this, and whatever. So there's tile feeding into this wetland, and ultimately flows out to the northwest.
I think the reason it's like that is because when, on the north side, the drainage came up, and I think the landowners back then feuded over the state line and Iowa drainage going into Minnesota drainage, and no one was aggressive enough to get any drainage ditch or tile main up through there. It could have been drained, but not now. That ain't what we're after, is to drain all that wetland.
But as it stands, this is a definite cork in the bottle of water getting out of there. You know, 'cause that is the spot.
Well, I guess my opinion is, I feel like we created a mess there by doing what we did and not maintaining it. It's not a organized drainage district in any way, but we were in control of the outlet out of the state. I guess I want to have that conversation with the county engineer and how we can resolve that and do the right thing. I don't know what you guys feel.
To me, that's a great compromise. As long as you get drainage, you're okay with it? Yeah, all you guys, we both, yeah.
Well, and representing our part, we're just a tenant up there, you know, so I mean, the long range goal, you know, it needs to be to the actual land owners of the area. But I guess, I would still, thinking of the Herricks here, they've been presented quite an ugly little problem here for no more land than what they own on this situation, you know, which is, this 6 acres of easement that has gotten back to them.
Which we didn't realize was given back to us.
I assume you guys probably, if you inherited the land, you didn't have like a title opinion done through the estate.
No, we
Fair to
had
say.
the abstract redone,
You did, okay, because it should show up in the abstract.
probably, but
Yeah,
it hadn't been farmed for 49 years. I mean, you just,
The lawyer should have caught that.
and maybe they did, but, you know,
So when was
they,
it transferred back?
1970 is when we took it.
Took
When
it,
you
right?
took it,
But
when was it
was
transferred back to us?
2 weeks ago today.
So that's why it wouldn't have shown up at
That's
the
why
time
we
of
well,
the
the
estate.
easement would have shown up in the
Yeah.
abstract, or should show up in the abstract. The conveyance document that I have, that I think is the same document that whomever it was brought last week. I just have the recorded copy with the cover sheet, the backside and everything that says easement for road purposes. That entry should be in the abstract. I obviously
probably is.
can't say whether it is or not because I haven't seen it, but
Part,
it
and part of that document's still intact.
say that again.
Part of that document's still intact. We just vacated part of it.
Right, right. Because you still have the other road, yeah.
Right.
Right.
So it's still an easement for utilizing for the most
In part, yeah.
I'd be in favor of doing another 50-year easement.
Well, you're gonna get property back that you're gonna pay some taxes on, that is gonna be completely worthless to you.
Well, I don't think it's gonna be much of any taxes, because they're gonna look at it as non-farmable land,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, I said
It'll
some,
have
I didn't
very
say a
little
lot.
value.
I think my brother-in-law looked it up and it was like $70 a year.
That much, so I'm surprised. That might be a good thing to go to the, I don't know if it gets even possible petition in the spring to challenge the value of it.
I guess I'm still surprised that that can happen, because, you know, in the beginning, in 1970, that there was negotiation, obviously, that took place to acquire the easement, and for them to just throw it back over the fence 50 years later without them being notified, that's a surprise to me.
And it's very limited circumstances when we hold it by easement, and I think also the condition that it doesn't change the current road.
That probably should have been done when they made the current road.
Correct.
It should have been sent back to the Herricks at that time instead of waiting this long.
And I assume it just kind of was out.
Well, that's where the problem came up, because it became a problem. That was Scott's decision how to deal with it, not deal with it.
Yeah, that's the only reason it is.
That's the only
because he
reason
knew
it
there's a
happened
problem
now.
here. I mean, otherwise, why did he do it just 2
Yeah,
weeks
no,
ago?
it wasn't like it was all of a sudden Shazam, you know.
It's a bad deal. It's,
Until I brought this to his attention, he had no idea that this is even part of the county's responsibility. But then he just took this action to get rid of the problem.
I'm just gonna remind everybody, Scott is not here. He does not have notice that you guys are talking about him, so I would advise you not to.
But the key word there was the responsibility of the county.
Well, I think you've got the ear of the three supervisors that we'd like to have that discussion with the engineer and see what we can come up with for a resolution.
We thank you for that.
Yeah. So I guess for now, we'll table this situation until next week and have a discussion with the road department.
We'll attempt one more time to have Scott at the meeting.
Well, I think we'll make sure in order to have the meeting, we have to have Scott here. So we'll make sure that he will be here, or we'll call you guys and say it's off for another week.
So will you have a conversation with Scott prior to the meeting then, or will
Yes.
be at the meeting? Yeah, prior to.
Both.
Okay.
And will you let us know when the meeting is? I mean, for
I mean,
It'll be next Tuesday unless you hear from us.
same time.
I think we don't have anything else at 9, do we?
We do have something at 9,
Okay,
so
That could be lengthy, or
just make
it
it
could
at
be
10.
more than just your 5 minutes.
Just do it 10 o'clock. So we'll do it at 10 o'clock next week, unless we let you know otherwise. Well, thanks for your time.
actually there's something at 10.
What is there? That's good. Maybe we should give this 2 weeks. Just plan on, what do we have scheduled in 2 weeks?
Yeah, that'd be the day after Labor Day,
Like
second or the third.
That would be better.
So we're flexible that day, so we can put it right away on the 3rd at 9 o'clock.
get out of that.
That will give us some time to
Okay.
plan on it.
Yep, let us know and if we don't need to be here also.
All right, will do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a good day.
You too.
Sure.
So you looked at the Title VI discrimination agreement?
Yeah, I did. Actually, do you have a copy, just so I can refresh my memory? Did it last week.
Seems like a lot of rules.
There are a lot of rules, and my only thing would be make sure we know what we're responsible to do under it, because there are quite a few things, like an annual training. I talked to Carla about that yesterday. The catch is, if we don't sign it, I assume we're not gonna get the federal funding, so there's not really a lot of wiggle room there. But it's just making sure we know what we need to do and what we're responsible for.
Big dollar item.
Right.
So Eric, Heidi Becker, and I had a meeting with Tracy Bradley from the DOT last Friday for 2.5-ish hours. And she's going to send us a report of the things that we are not doing that we need to be doing. And so we'll get that from her hopefully in a couple weeks, and we can, but she needs this before she can do that, so. I also believe that it should be Scott as the Title VI coordinator versus me, because it's mostly deals with DOT, and
When do we have to sign this by?
Last, on August 6th. And you can leave my name for now. We can do an update at any time, so.
I think it's something to talk about, who should be the coordinator.
More up his alley, I guess.
Many of the auditors' offices, we have a group that we can discuss things back and forth. And a lot of the Title VI coordinators for the county is the county engineer.
So it's not.
In big counties where they have an actual human resource person, the human resources person is the Title VI coordinator. So, I mean, just whatever you guys want.
And it's probably not a big,
Well, where would we run into problems, in your opinion, down the road?
Let's say somebody, it's discrimination, so if somebody has
That's it.
Files a
That's it.
complaint,
I
or-
haven't seen that one, so.
if somebody, I don't know,
Yeah, if anybody has a complaint, on basis of discrimination.
So this is just discrimination.
Yeah, and that's how, I mean, we have to guarantee that obviously we're not discriminating against people and take measures to make sure that we're not in order to get that federal funding.
Well, I got the opinion many good. I don't know why we wouldn't pass it.
And other hoops you have to jump through to get your own money back. Yeah.
And that's great if she's gonna send you kind of a list of what you need to do, because that should be pretty helpful.
yeah, she talked about the training, she talked about, I don't know, like I said, we met for 3 hours, so it's kind of fuzzy right now, but
Sure.
I have a whole list of stuff in my office.
I'll make a motion to approve Title VI information from DOT. Iowa DOT.
I'll second it.
got a motion from Stensrud and a second from Jensvold to approve the Title VI information agreement, or the non-discrimination agreement with Iowa DOT and Winnebago County. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
All those red spots,
Makes me nervous, that might be moved too.
That's why you get paid the big bucks.
Oh, yeah. Don't yell. Right, but today's date,
yeah.
put that one on the punch list, and not a complaint, but
Yes.
this one was yours. Administrative head.
No, you're the
I'm
administrative head, I'm the respondent.
Okay. How come that one was yellow?
Because I put it there and Scott did the rest of them.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have any red flags.
Okay, now I got it.
Number 5 is not ours to approve, it's the city of Thompson.
I was just wondering, it was just a mistake by them not realizing.
Yeah, I don't know how.
See, the grocery store was sold K&H Energy / New Wave, and I imagine they're taking over on Friday. Do we have any ability,
Nope,
so they'll have no liquor license to tell the city council?
yep.
Do they?
Why do we have
know that?
control of the roads and not infrastructure?
Chelsea was gonna call them this morning.
That's interesting.
All right.
We'll embargo the roads so they can't get to the market.
That's the state, though. That'd be the state.
No, we're control of the roads within the city limits, so at least some of them.
Yeah, but it's right on Highway 9.
Yeah.
This is Chris.
Hi, Chris, we're ready for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if it was across the street, then it'd be ours.
Yeah,
North side of the road is not the city road.
So they change hands on Friday, is that what you're saying? I didn't realize it was sold.
is that right? Everything on the north side of Highway 9 is not in the city limits.
They should be allowed to do that. Does the city council know that, you know?
They know that.
Oh, they know that.
No, I mean, the property line.
No, that they want a liquor license. Because they might not meet for a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, they don't meet till after Labor Day.
Maybe we want to
Chelsea
give
called
them.
the city. So,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
They can call under
Special
Yeah,
meeting.
that's what they
Yeah,
do.
they'll take care of it.
That's what I was getting at.
It's up to them. Okay, so drainage matters. Do you have anything for us? Okay. The area down that Helgeson's were doing north of my place by the curve.
Yeah.
He put in the corrugated 12-inch there. Market recommended dual wall, but the old tile that he's replacing is just corrugated and it's plenty deep, so I told him to go ahead and do what was there. I think it's pretty much done now, but if you have a concern later, if the drainage still doesn't work out, that the trees in that DOT property are plugging that way. We'll have to keep an eye on it. We'll hear from Roger or whoever. If it's not working. You guys
Corey Farms that now. Corey
on
Farms.
the south side.
Yeah.
But the north side is gonna be affected if the trees are blocked.
Good point.
You got any drainage?
The county has a thing for jetting out tile, so
No,
they don't.
we hire it done. We have hired it done.
All right,
We have-
somebody
we have-
told me that they
We
had
have a jetting tool for our culverts.
just for culverts, so it isn't that.
Don't know, you'd have to ask road department.
Because,
We actually did that on Al Divins. Probably 5-6 years ago, maybe longer than that, I don't know.
I went out last week and DD 34, their Allen Post and that whole situation there, and they called me out. I mean, I went out there and watched it, whatever, but they had a guy that was gonna come, which they thought that the county had a, so I didn't know if I'd overstepped my bounds by saying the guy could come jet it out.
You may have, because
What
it
we-
wouldn't be ours, it's a secondary road, so they would have to.
No, this isn't under road, it's in the old field.
What we did
I
on
don't
the,
know if we have.
what we did on the previous one was, we hired a camera to look at it first. Before, just to see if the jetting would do it.
Well, this one has got, I mean, it's already, non-erosion replace tile going through Beaver Source, Grove. And, so it was probably small tree roots that were plugging it up or whatever, and they've jetted it out, and it seems to be flowing better now. That thing goes back in the tile, I think it was like 500 feet full.
And the trick on that is you have to, at the bottom end of where you're jetting, you have to have an opening to get rid of all that stuff you're jetting, so you don't just send it down the tile.
And that didn't happen.
So that's what I'm concerned about when they jetted the last time on the 5-mile curve. Did they just jet it and plug up the tile down below that we now have to replace?
It's still flowing, so it's plugging it. And it had rained, I should have went up and looked down after it rained. It certainly couldn't be worse than this.
Anything else for drainage? Move on to consider for approval notice of award to Larson Contracting for DD 21, DD 68-136 Lat 2, and DD 68-136 project.
This is just coming from you guys to work so that they can do that.
I'll make a motion to approve the notice of award to Larson Contracting for DD 21, DD 68-136, Lat 2, and DD 68-136 project.
Second that, question.
Alright, discussion. All right, I have a motion from Jensvold and a second from Stancher. Any discussion?
What's this project done?
This is up by Rake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna clean out the section of ditch
Yeah.
there.
Getting right up to the state line.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
goes
It's
into,
on our
goes into Cassuth.
But if you
And then to the state line.
then it goes under the state line, and that's all we can do. That's why there's the combination, 168, or 68, 136.
I couldn't remember where it was. All right, yep.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Are you done?
Did you guys get emailed the county clerks?
I didn't look last night.
I didn't really see it.
I never saw it.
Oh, no, I didn't, yeah. That one,
You got an email on us?
sure it did, yeah. Something.
It's good. Brad?
Shop supplies, yeah. Must be the paper towels or toilet paper or something.
It's ready to change hands.
All the,
They bought outright.
was that right?
That's what he's made of.
Yeah, they got the. Cartel pumps there. And they got the, LP tank south of town too. That used to be New Way headed, now it's.
Where's the headquarters?
I think Garlic. It used to be in. I think it's in Curly. You remember, you're familiar with Butler Curtis?
Yeah.
It's where they're all offices used to be. Butler Curtis too. I think it's Butler
You
Curtis.
say there was a merger with New Way?
Yeah. Anyway. But they bought Butler Curtis before that.
Can we do one real quick?
Sure. Open forum.
August 22nd at 6 p.m. in Thompson. Do you guys all want to go to a meeting regarding emergency medical services? Or do you like just one of you to go? We need to post it if there's going to be more than one of you.
It's gonna be Thompson and Buffalo that were invited.
Yep.
The councils and stuff. It's mostly about the west end.
You know what their concern is?
Lack of service.
Lack of service.
And they invited the Cassuth County Services because they have to coordinate everything.
Our ambulance was in there, so we kind of.
Right, you have to coordinate all of those. And it's Andy that's coordinating the thing.
Well, yeah, I did kind of ask Andy to help them with this.
What night is it?
August 22nd
Thursday night.
Thursday night, August 22nd.
at 6.
It's also the same night as the Republican Fund.
My only reservation would be that, how come Terry and Mike are here, they gonna force their will on us? That's my only
Well, we were invited. By
You know,
them.
that's true. It's true.
We were all invited.
Yeah.
So, that's the same
You
night
want
as
us there?
the. Well, I can decide whether I'm gonna be there or not. I've already got a ticket to the.
Yeah, I was gonna get a ticket, I just got spaced out. So maybe you should go to that and him and I could go cover that. You already know the situations over there probably.
Yeah.
By being on the service.
Well, that and I sat in the office with some of the other people too and discussed it here a couple weeks ago about what's going on.
So you're already well versed at it. So it's maybe more of an enlightenment for us.
So either way, you want me to post it?
I think it should be posted.
Okay.
What's the other thing on Thursday?
The Republican fundraiser, Ernst and King and 3 look.
I think that's what he told me.
Oh, sure.
I'll just call Andy before I post it.
Hate it when my phone does this, when it goes back to 16. Search. There it is. City Hall, yeah. 6 o'clock.
I'm gonna be at school in Des Moines, so I can't go either.
Says Cassuth County Emergency Management have been invited to answer questions about how they are discussing in our neighboring county. Also, the Winnebago County Board of Supervisors will be invited as well as the Thompson City Council, Mayor, Buffalo Center, Mayor, Council, who's also planning on being there. Some of what needs to be discussed, in my opinion, immediate needs, what are they? How are they being addressed? What is needed to meet those needs? Number 2 would be long-term needs, with the direction of the EMS in Winnebago County. Number 3 is EMS Association. Does the group want to stand up this group and continue to meet and discuss strategies for future success? Number 4, volunteer recruitment. Number 5, EMS essential service. If the state of Iowa does not deem it essential, is there a benefit to doing that locally other than the recognition?
Because you not invited supervisors?
Not the supervisors, just their.
Come on.
Just emergency management. So. I guess I'll plan on being there since I didn't get my ticket yet for that other thing. Okay. What else we got? Go ahead.
Yeah, just both of these, one needs signed, one needs approval from, everyone stamped. It's the same thing
Oh,
from the other week, but Chris wanted it stamped and it didn't get stamped. And then there's a whole bunch of,
at the end or
wherever you wanna put it,
all those training stuff.
a bunch of DNR. Thank you.
No, thank you. Morning, Gabe.
Morning.
As a sanitary and just bring in hours and just get people who like the market. Or just, does he just give you the hours that he worked?
Just what's there.
That's it.
Morning, Tom. That's the last one we were looking at.
Check. Piece. Conservation. lawn tractor.
Mhm.
That's a new lawn tractor.
Good. Good job.
Just saw it.
Last one went about 9 years.
9 years. Still going?
Tried that one out.
No, I mean, well, but it was still going.
Yes. Oh, yeah. If I hadn't bought the tractor I bought a year ago, I would have been looking at that one. John Deere X739. Steer all-wheel drive. He got a 1029 already.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock. Dave Rand will discuss the courthouse project with possible action. Want to give us an overview of some of the things Carla, Kevin and I have discussed previously?
You bet. So basically the bottom line is the stone that in order to process our stone through, we just take pictures of it so that we have all the things, and then he pretty much has the dimensions, and then we just keep track of them. So it's been a little while since anybody's been on this side and looked. There's quite a few more are bad than what, you know, were on the original contract on these two sides. So brought the pictures so that, because we need to get the stone ordered, so we need to decide which ones. And there's an extra 39 stones that I have question marked. So that brings us to the change order that we would have to do that. So, and with that, there was approximately another 250 brick that would have to be relayed as those were taken out and back in, because some of them are the ones where the bricks are all stacked on top of them. It's pretty hard to
The
change.
determination of the 24 that were in the contract
Yep.
was done when? How far back? Way back when we started the contract?
Yes,
Yeah, so-
because what we did is we used the original print and we marked on all those, you know, and at that time even, you know, there were question marks, but we didn't have the question marks on there, so yes.
So it shows that in the last 4 years or so, things have progressed
Yeah,
on these other stones.
yes, yes.
And that's my concern, that if we don't address these stones, things are gonna get even worse, cause more damage on stuff we've already repaired.
How old are these bricks, you know? Or block?
The building was built in 1896, so we're at 120 plus years.
So in just 4 years, they've shown one, where?
Well, the problem that we have is there's pretty massive amounts of water going in some areas because of the deterioration of the stones and the brick joints in certain areas. So
The problem kind of grows exponentially.
it's kind of like your roads, you know. I mean, once they get bad, they just kind of,
Once you lose that seal, it gets in there and starts infecting everything else.
Right.
If you go into the small law library, when there's a wind from the north and east, it's coming down on the windowsills inside. I mean, not a drip, it's a stream.
Gotcha.
So what you came up with for the first amendment, or amendment,
say that again.
the amendment number
It'd be change order 5
five,
would be, proposed would be 39 additional stone, and that would add a dollar amount to the contract of $119,925.
You're also looking
Just the
at,
block?
Yes, and that's installing them and everything.
Oh,
did that include the 250?
Yes.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
And then you were also looking at a timeline extension too, right?
Yes.
And that was,
Well, and I guess
1 year from the last date, so that put it to 11/1 of 2020. Which it wouldn't necessarily need to be that long, but typically they extend it by a year when they do it.
That's what Rick thought, so, well, I don't need that long, but that's what he.
So, do we want to cover these individually, or do you want to discuss everything first?
Well,
For our motions,
Well, we're probably only going to motion one thing today, but do we want to discuss everything first, or discuss it after the motion?
Let's take care of the first part first.
Okay, all right.
what I need is for this project, so, because as soon as I know if I'm ordering 24 stones or all of them, I'm gonna place my order. So that's what I need now, and then the rest of it would just be a discussion then.
And we've got to move forward on these stones so he can get his work done and get them in. Now, these had a cost increase, didn't they?
Yeah, my cost stone increase was 32%. It's been a year and a half or so since we bought any stone. And when we got the last stone, he talked about trying to increase it, and I got him to hold that, and so, but this time they were up 32%, so.
He hasn't gotten out of the business yet, wasn't he gonna retire or something?
He keeps talking about it, Bill is.
Business is always going to probably be there.
Yeah, the business will be there. There's a couple of guys that own the business, but he's the man that basically runs the show, I mean, so.
But that's, a future discussion.
Right.
So my concern is, I feel like when I looked at all the pictures, every one of them had some kind of a fissure in it or something that was allowing moisture to get in that could affect everything down below it.
Yeah, no, it's,
Because we started at the bottom, and now we did some emergency repairs over here. Now we're working up above all that and around on the west side. And
we've had this discussion before, and it seems to be the people's will that they wanna keep repairing it, so.
then the other discussion, when we had budget times, we discussed that we were going to pay through we're going to have to do general obligation bonds, right? We have a certain amount in the budget that is also going to be through general obligation. So the 119,000 would just be an additional amount in there. So I guess I would make a motion to accept change order number 5 for Dave Randall Construction for the repair of the courthouse in the amount of $119,000 what?
$925.
$925.
I second that.
you've been here longer than me. Go ahead.
Okay, I got a motion from Derby and a second from Stensrud to approve change order number 5 for courthouse repairs in the amount of $119,925. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, subject number 2. Where you're talking about East End, which we talked previously about this.
So if we go back to the original, before we ever did any bidding, the front is kind of its own little entity. So it was excluded from the contract from everyone when you bid it. That was never entered in. So we're back to that now. We did some temporary repairs to try and keep the water out of it, because what's happening is it's bulging and tipping out. Okay. So, and then of course the steps are in need of repair, and the, whatever you want to call the areas where the bushes are. So, so it was, the recommendation or the thought that I got, it was that whole thing needs to come down and start over. It would all be new stone, except for the granite columns. I see no reason looking at them now that they can't be reused. So everything else is fairly worn. You know, the heads were the possibility that we could somehow try and save those and put those back in as is. One of them is not real good. So I'm not sure what it would cost to replace the heads.
Are they supporting, are they a structure?
Yeah, they are actually the keystone
Okay.
for the arches. They are the one right in the middle. So,
I actually, probably gonna get crucified for this, but I suggested taking the two heads on either side and donating them to the Humane Society, the Historical Society, and putting up just a plain stone on those two sides and leaving the middle head the way it is. Because of cost purposes, basically. But
How much does lettering cost? You know, just.
you know, it's so much a letter. Yeah, I could get a I don't know that right offhand, so. I mean, it's pretty reasonable.
What do the heads cost a piece?
I have no idea. Well, here's what's happening in our Stone World publication that we get every month. There's very few people that do that. I think they could possibly be water jetted or CNC routed if we could get, if we can, you know, I just don't, a lot of the detail is especially off the south one. And so there's not a lot of detail left. She's kind of missing her whole mouth and stuff.
So it's a coordination of what the existing is, and you have to almost pay an artist that can do it on a computer to generate the fill-in of what's missing.
Right. Back in, you know, I mean, as far as hand doing it, there's so few of those.
And
I don't think it's going to happen.
Would you say they're sending all that work over to Europe?
Yeah, they send that over to Europe and it gets done and comes back, so.
I would venture to say that 99.9999%, if we take them out and just put block in there, no one's gonna even notice it.
They will now.
No, they will.
And it still isn't gonna be, you're still gonna have a large percentage that won't notice it, there'll just be a few more.
Yeah.
I would like to investigate the possibility of other ways to do it, but if it comes down to it, I guess I'd go with Carla's suggestion, try to salvage the one. But I'd like to see if there's a possibility of.
Is water jetting expensive?
Well, it'd be cheaper than a hand artist. I'll put it that way. I don't know the exact, and I don't know on that stone. A lot of the water jetting is more on a granite, a little harder stuff than this. So, but I will ask the hard questions as to them. Can you manufacture these? Which we asked, but they didn't really talk in-house that they had anyone that could do it.
They're
So
just trying to avoid the conversation.
basically, what's amazing out there is how many stones there are. There's 65 just on the arches. And then there's another, was it
22.
22?
22 are the cove pieces above the arches.
Right, and then there's 6 up here and 6 up there, and there's some down underneath in the capitol. So, you know, it's pushing towards 100 pieces of stone. They're 17 inches deep, and they're 15. But anyway, they take a lot of cubic foot. Basically, that's what drives the cost up on them. And they're all done in the CNC machine because they're round. So the cost is more than a normal where you can take a saw and make it. So it gets, you know. But.
the other question that I have is, should we, since stone is going up 32% a year, should we be ordering the stone for the front, even if we don't get it done for 2 years?
Well, you had a theory of when to do it.
Well, one idea I had was that if a guy did it when it's cold out, we wouldn't be bothering the people that use your lawn in the summertime. It's a fairly small area to enclose, and, you know, it gives me a good chance to get something small like that and get it done during colder weather. You know, it could be possible if we had a week of 20 below or whatever, we just don't come that week, but I mean, otherwise we can work on it when,
Reasonable.
yeah. So that would be one thought I had, that it would work well for us, and I don't think it would hurt hurt you guys.
So if we can get all of this done and that done, then that pretty much finishes
Correct,
everything on the repairs.
correct.
Didn't we order some extra stone the last time we ordered stone?
We actually were over our stone in cubic foot. We had the numbers, I don't remember. What we did when we first started is we bought 6 or 9 blocks, big blocks, and those are all gone. And that's why I had to enter into a new contract with them. And basically what they told me is their blocks cost them a lot more than they did then, because at that time they were, they bought them before we ever started. We ordered so many blocks. And of course we did all the big pieces on the bottom, and they chewed up a lot of.
You're saying
Cubic
that
feet.
some of this quarries are starting to go to fracking instead because there's more money in it, or?
Well, there's 2 quarries that quarried this Kasota stone. One in St. Peter's and one in Mankato. The Mankato one was closed, sold, and they took their mining operations. There was more money in fracking sand, so they just closed the stone down, is what they did. So that left the one in St. Peter. Since then, there's another company out of St. Cloud that has some rights to that, but they don't do any finished pieces. They might go in and cut some blocks, but the guy in St. Peter doesn't sell to outside vendors. He keeps all the stone himself. He doesn't, it's just his operation. That's what he does. So we're kind of limited. You can't just, reach out and try and find new suppliers for this particular stone.
So I'm worried that we're gonna run out of sources. And the sooner we can get it done, the better. So, we're not ready to decide on that yet, are we, or?
No, I think that, if you guys if you have the discussion and you want to go forward, when we do know, probably sooner than later, we can go ahead and get our blocks bought. And they can even make the stone, because we know exactly what they're going to be. It's got to be put back like it is. We may be able to, those heads or whatever, but the rest of the stuff, you can't make the arches to changing it.
The other
So
thing you were talking about changing was the steps.
the steps.
Getting rid of some of the planters on the sides and make it the original width of steps.
Kind of like in the picture there, they were originally all the way across.
So,
You think you put the planters in there for cost?
I don't know why they did it.
I can't tell you why they did that, Mike. It was just something the architect at that time drew up, but it happened.
They did that, they redid those when they did this addition. That's when this got redone last, was whatever.
To me, that just makes another avenue for water to collect and expand into there and start breaking things up again. So,
Yeah,
Well, if you look at those stone out there, they're awful.
yeah, the planters are horrible.
They're bad.
wasn't properly drained probably. So, I don't know, what's your guys' feelings? Are you in agreement that we should move forward?
Just something to keep in mind,
I think
Terry.
we made,
Don't forget the shingles on the road.
Right.
I think we made that decision, 4 years ago?
Yeah. Or somebody made it for us back when they added on to the
As
building.
I say, time to build the new courthouses before they put that addition out there, so. In the historic preservation.
I guess that's kind of a consensus that we want to move forward the next step.
So what we need to do then is get a change order for that. And what I'm hearing is we want the steps to look like the original. They would go all the way across. So the only one thing that we really don't know, and I can assume that it looks pretty good underneath all the concrete because they're not, falling down and stuff. The only thing we wouldn't know is if something down there needs to be redone. Other than that, we can get that change order for you and bring that forward then.
But there is a possibility you could open it up.
Yeah.
That would be what we want to see.
Yep. I assume that there's a footing that goes all the way out to that edge and that because the steps all look like they're sitting well. It doesn't look like they're being heaved around. So I feel pretty good about it, but as we keep finding out on repair work, not just on this job, but every job we do, you don't know until you open it up. So.
Prepared for the worst to be happy when it's not there.
So I guess we'll start the process anyway. And then the third part of this discussion would be the road.
Yes.
And you mentioned that you would like to be the general contractor for the roof, just to have control over how it's done. Protect your work.
Yes. If the board is in agreement to that, we could, do
You don't want to do the work, you just want to.
Well, I will be involved in it. I will. I don't have a whole roofing crew. I mean, I have some carpenters that, we work on stuff like this all the time, but we don't go out and look for the churches and courthouses to do because we don't have enough time, can't keep up. But this one is so I was up there with the guy from Midwest Roofing yesterday. We looked the rubber over. The shingles are definitely showing some age. We did re-shingle the top of the south peak 2-3 years ago, but there's a whole bunch. We were up in this corner. There's the granules are definitely coming off. There's a pile of them laying up there. The rubber that was put down 20 years ago is showing some age. It's, the corners and different places where it always wears out
Do you have
first.
that picture of the roof that shows the rubber at the bottom and the shingles coming down?
Yeah.
It's a little different. We talked about, why can't we put like a Dexter shingle on there, the steel shingles? But it's almost impossible to replace the rubber underneath the bottom of those. So it's not a good choice. So you kind of consider that asphalt shingles are probably the way to go again. The dark part down here is all the rubber roofing. So, and it's got a 10-year warranty. And we can push and look and see if there's anything that's a longer lasting.
Yeah, and I will ask those questions.
But, you could get a, 40, 50 year shingle, but you still got to replace things at the bottom possibly before the life of that is done. These shingles were put on when?
Oh, we're thinking in mid-90s, late 90s?
Mid-90s, I believe, because.
So they got almost 25 years on them. And the rubber roofing was done.
About 20 years ago, either 19 or.
With it, and probably had a 10-year warranty.
Yeah.
I thought I heard they came out with a new rubber material for these roofs that was guaranteed longer than that.
Well, I need to ask that question. I think the standard warranty, this is going to be my guess, and I don't know this. The standard warranty is 10 years if it's done they actually send somebody out and inspect it, and then they give them the warranty. I'm guessing you can buy a longer warranty, but I don't know what that cost. Because we're seeing the rubber last a good 20 years, and 30
And there's
even.
a difference
But-
between the black rubber and the white PVC type roof.
Yeah.
You can get a longer warranty with the white roof, but we don't want white roof because of the look.
It just seems like I remember some conversation or read something in the paper when they were the roof at the school up the center.
Okay.
They'd come up with something new that was supposed to last much longer.
Well, the school in Thompson that they did, that's a 20-year roof.
And maybe that's all it was, and just for some reason I was thinking it's wider than that.
So Decra won't work?
Well, you know, have you ever worked with Decra at all?
No, I haven't.
It's like a metal siding. And
Sold
you
it.
can't, yeah, you can't really pull it up and work underneath it and put it back down. It's not like shingles, it's just a different animal that it's impossible to, unless there's some way to put a joint in there.
What one installer told us was, when we showed him this, he said that the thing to bear in mind is that if you have a 50-year Decra shingle, and say in 25 years or 20 years you have to go back and redo the rubber, you're going to have to strip all those shingles off because you can't go like Terry's saying. So,
But why would you need to go back? I understand,
Because
you
it
know.
ties underneath it.
yeah, it goes,
The rubber goes
the
up.
rubber goes up like that so
Right.
that the ice doesn't back up.
But these are 50-year shingles, so I mean, barring a tornado that puts 2 trees through it, I mean,
But the rubber is only 20 years.
the rubber's not gonna be affected. I mean, that's the purpose of going with Decra, is you
But-
got a 50-year roof, so.
Yeah, but the rubber, you know, the rubber down in there, and that's what did all the damage is those low things on it. You know, on the big pitch like that, you can have a leak here or there and it doesn't really matter because it just runs off. But all that water comes down into that bathtub, and that's where the rubber is. And then that rubber comes down the side, across the bottom, and up. And then the Decras sit over the top of it. Like what Terry's trying, if we could figure out how to do a joint there so you didn't have to go underneath them, you could replace the rubber.
If you could
Well,
just-
that's a design flaw, then we should be taking care of that now, so we don't push this problem down the road.
If there was some way to make a joint, you know, have 2 sections where you start a second time up higher, and you just have this much down at the bottom, that you could remove it, not have to remove the whole roof down to that first starter.
Why can't you just bridge it and make a straight slope all the way?
It would be a very long slope, and I'm not sure, well, somehow, we have a stone. You would literally have to change the pitch of the roof. Somewhere you would either have to go from point A to point B, one long, which would be 20-some feet, or you'd
That's
have
not
to,
feasible, no.
or you'd have to go up and then have a break point, and you still have a point where somewhere, you know, it's going to be an issue. It's kind of a complicated roof with those points and stuff on it, and the gable ends, and you got valleys that come down into those. Every one of them has a valley that comes in to it too.
Do you think there's a drainage function to the pan at the bottom?
Say that
Does
again.
it slow the water down having that pan down there? Because you got a steep roof coming down pretty fast. Does the pan actually slow it down so it just doesn't shoot over the top?
Well, you know, back at that time, you know, they didn't have machines to roll out the gutters and stuff like we did. They had a little teeny half roll, you know. And I'm guessing it's a big roof, there's a lot of water, and that's part of it. That's what they did to hold the water until they could get it out, you know. And snow if you go right from that edge, I mean, the Deckers do a pretty nice job as far as snow not sliding down.
But you could have a pretty good free falling avalanche if you didn't have that.
You got the snow you can hold with that rubber roof.
Yes, the snow just keeps piling up in there until it has a chance
Well,
to.
straight rope wouldn't hold any more than that dip then. In fact, the dip would probably hold more snow. It would trap more snow, so that concern is, I just, you know, if you, let me ask you this question. If here's the roof and you have it like this, okay, did you understand that?
Yeah,
Okay, why can't you just go from there to this level and straighten it out, or flatten it out and shingle it.
kind of the lean-to.
Yeah,
So then you're looking at the aesthetics part of it, and we're on the National Register, is it gonna affect that?
Where you would really see it is probably on those three corners, because your roof would go from here, and, you know, we'd have to break it if we went up 6 feet or whatever, and you would see a double pitch there.
yeah.
So, and then,
But right now you see nothing,
no, you don't see anything.
yeah.
And then we need to figure out how we're gonna get the gutters hung on that stone that's up there then too.
If we change it.
If you change it, you would have to figure out that.
So there's poles and not even having gutters.
Oh, I don't think you have a choice here because your roof is so big, you'd have so much ice and snow and stuff dripping all the time. It'd just be like out
Well, I
here.
certainly hope there won't be ice. We better ameliorate that problem.
Well, if you don't have any gutters, what I'm saying is, you know, in the summertime or wintertime when it's melting, you know, it drip and you've got these areas out here that stick out. You got them on both sides of the building where they stick out and it just be free falling down onto there.
But isn't that gonna freeze in the gutter too? It's gonna freeze in the gutter and eventually it's gonna go to the gutter and your ice problem.
Well,
There's,
we do have ice cables in the gutters. As long as you can keep an opening in there, the water does pretty much go down inside. It builds out, I'm not saying it doesn't. But compared to when we didn't have working melting cables, I mean, yeah, you'd get a column this big.
and several of the gutters are running into underground tiles too, so it's not like they're just dumping out.
I mean, we can discuss those, you know, that avenue.
I'm just throwing my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
It could be worth zeros.
Well, it's a big roof, so you do get, you know, on a good rain or whatever, there's a lot of gallons
Yeah.
there. So what we don't want to do is your stone at the bottom, you know, you didn't know about gutters, but the stone at the bottom lean out like this. So if we don't catch that water up there, it's just everything's gonna become soaking wet all the time. So I don't think it'd be very good for the stone to be wet like that. So we need gutters, no matter what we do. We either leave it like it is and,
At least channel the majority of the water away.
yes, I'm not saying that it catches every ounce, but you know, we wanna get most
So
of
you're
it.
looking at the possibility of getting the roof done next year,
Yes,
next calendar year.
yes.
So then we'll have a completed building.
Your envelope then will be sealed.
And then after that point, then we just gotta budget for maintenance,
Yes.
so it
Yes.
doesn't get ahead of us.
Yep.
Well, my opinion there again, was that we need to throw these projects all together and bond for it, I think.
Well,
Get it done, and so that people really truly know how much we're spending on this whole thing.
and interest rates are low right now.
Yep.
I guess,
And would you make a motion for the front and then a motion for the other? So the change order would be,
number 6 and 7.
okay,
Well, that's gonna be done here regardless.
So I guess you've got our opinions on it anyway.
okay.
So I guess I'll make that a motion.
Do we want a motion today?
We don't have any numbers yet.
Right, so until we have that, we should probably let
Don't
them
have any exact
come up with
numbers.
that.
Well, I'm sorry, but I've got a little checking on you. And his reputation is well above board.
Right.
At the top. get the stuff bought. I mean, what are we gonna say if he comes back and 30% over, estimate? First of all, I don't even know an estimate, so.
Well, you kind of had a number.
Right, originally, 2 years ago, where I said 400,000
For the front.
on the front. And Tom and I, yesterday, we went through the numbers and stuff, and we kind of thought you're lower down more towards 3.25 or something like that. With the exception.
Alter a couple things.
Yeah, if we can alter a couple of things, and then if we don't have any major problems. But like I said, it doesn't look like you do. So, I hate to sit here and say we're going to have a big problem when we dig up, because if we don't, it looks pretty good. The top doesn't look good, but the rest of it looks pretty good. So, and the shingling I don't have yet. We wanted to have an estimate. There was a screw up in somebody's software that messed me up. So I can get that estimate for you, or we can get it in a change order. But if we do that, we're going to want to buy our products, I'm guessing, because once we go through January, they all want to raise everything. So,
And if you're gonna work this winter, then you might as well have them ready.
yes. Yes.
But
Although on the shingling, I'm not so sure we wanna buy. Talking with people that are in the business, like my brother-in-law, they think prices are gonna go down because there isn't much going on in the whole country. So they have a feeling building materials are going down, so, I mean, that doesn't include the block,
and maybe
obviously.
this winter you can lock it in at a better price
Yeah.
or something.
Okay.
People are more hungry in the winter to line something up right away in the spring or whatever.
Yep.
Do we want to make a motion to have them buy the block for the front, but
I'm sorry, that was my original intent.
To buy the block.
Get the block bought, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It's gotta be done.
You want in on this?
Oh, sure, I'll second it, yeah. Now I feel
You've been
better.
pretty quiet, Bill.
Yeah, no, speak when spoken to. Yes, sir, no, sir, all that stuff.
Okay, so I've got a motion from Stenzer, a second from Jensel, to direct Dave Randall to start the process of purchasing the block for the east entry.
Well, the figure he gave was for everything, so.
But
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it's not much of a solid number, though.
It's not an exact number, but I mean, I need to lock my block in.
Right.
Let's see, how do we want to do this, Tom?
We gotta get, the block is by far our biggest variable.
Right.
So if we can get them to come up with the exact cost to make everything and stuff, then we'll have a much more solid
So
number
then,
for.
after this point, once you get that lined up, then you come to us with a change order for repair, or is it a change order, or is this within the contract?
so it would be a change order for the front.
So it stays within the contract
To the
as a
front,
change
for
order.
the 20, how many blocks again, 29?
It's,
No, that's the original.
Yeah.
The original we already approved.
Yeah.
it's, for the front, it's almost 100 stone pieces for the front.
No, but you said you also had how many more that you found?
39 over here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, 39 here. And then there's approximately 100 out front.
If you do that top part
Yes,
in a different way.
yes,
Otherwise, it's more stone.
yes.
So,
So just so I know, you're gonna buy all the block that's needed to get this building where it should be.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
okay. So
That's my motion.
His motion says to buy the block to finish the building.
Yes.
Does that sound like it's clear enough?
I mean, I assume at some point you'll bring the estimate of how much
Everything.
it costs and everything.
Yeah. Right?
Yes.
You'll have a change order.
Definitely. Yes, most definitely.
Okay, but we gotta get started on the purchase of the block.
Yes.
Okay,
I will get, once I know now, I can go to him and I can say, I need these block. There's a couple of questions as far as the exact, those heads are one.
Yeah.
But we can get the blocks for them. We just don't know, are they gonna be square or are they gonna have heads on them? But I will get the answer to your question for that.
Not a big deal to me.
Sounds like a project for a college art department or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do
they do that over here?
I don't know. I don't know if Waldorf University, Fort City, Iowa would tackle that or not.
You know who the last ones, one of the biggest things I read is the monks out in, I can't remember, somewhere out on the East Coast. They actually went over and trained under some big artist, and then they've been building this place. I wish I could remember where I saw that article. And it's just out of this world, I guess, but they've been doing their own carving.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's possible. I was just wondering if you had any of the block you take out, if you had just a chunk, we could pass over there and let them, if they had any tools to work with or something. I don't know.
Sure.
Nothing lost.
We'll have some coming up.
All right, so we've got a motion on the table.
I'd like to amend that, and that will pay for it. Because it could work both ways. You could end up with the block in your yard and you die, and we're gonna go through probate and all that, and we can't get our hands on the block, And it protects you too from us walking away from it, so.
Will this be delivered to the county shop for now then, or?
Well, I don't think we want to haul the blocks around.
Okay.
What we did the very first time is he took pictures and basically it has, WCC on it or whatever, and those were your blocks. Because otherwise we've got to haul them back and forth. We can do whatever, but if we're going to turn around that fast, if we're going to do this, I'm going to have them get them made. There's no sense in me waiting till the last moment.
It's not that long till the end of the year. Christmas is coming.
Don't tell me that.
You haven't been shopping yet?
And I guess really, this is about the time you order for something you're planning on doing anyway, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So you'll get more information for us and start the process.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Tom.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Mike, did you play with Tom Randall? Tom Randall. All right. So we still have semi-monthly county claims.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the semi-monthly county claims.
I'll second that.
A motion from Jensel and a second from Stenser to approve the semi-monthly county claims. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. This is last week's stamp.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
You gotta go back and restamp it in there, Mike.
You know why I did that? I took the agenda out of my mailbox, and it was August 13th on that, it was the wrong one. It's still my fault.
I just crossed it like 20 of those.
I can quickly run through it, we stamp it.
That looks good enough, huh?
Can your son get a hold of me? We had something drop in our lap with regards to Lake Mills sports.
Like knows what?
Lake Mills football.
Okay. He's not coaching anymore, you know.
I know.
Okay, all right.
I need somebody in the booth
Oh,
covering the games. Can he call the station as soon as possible if he wants to be involved in it?
we should be right now.
We're sort of running against time on this one because the guy that was doing it decided to bail out at the very last second. So the school district called
You call
Koloff Media.
641. I'll give you both numbers. 592-6767 is the office. Let me find yourself.
And this is
Standard insurance on that one.
yeah, I mean, but it's your son's name.
Andy.
Andy.
Yep. And his cell phone is 515-480-1574. And if he's true to form, he'll get to the answer machine, but he will call you back.
No worries. I just need to get somebody for here, for Lake Mills and for Garner as quickly as possible. Because I'm doing all Walden this year, so. Which means I get to go travel to beautiful places like Dickinson, North Dakota.
Good old Dickinson.
Here it's nice and scenic this time of year.
The city council is handling all the situations up there. He's probably gonna build a bunch of homes up there in Dickinson.
I'm not kidding.
Didn't do too well.
So if you know of anybody else that wants to go do only home games for Garner, doors open.
What station do you broadcast that on?
That will be live streamed on Koloff Media.
Okay.
So like the Lake Mills will be live streamed on Koloff Media online, and so will the Garner games. Unless West Hancock has a night off, and then Garner gets its turn on KHAM, B103. So, or if Lake Mills does, depending upon what happens in the next few weeks. Cross our fingers. Well, this has been fun, guys. I'm gonna go get some sleep after I do an air shift. It's been a long night.
What was up last night?
Severe thunderstorm warnings, flash floods.
We didn't get that much rain.
No, we didn't. It kept firing up and then all of a sudden dying on us.
I think it went both ways west there for a while,
Mm-hmm.
south of us and
I woke up. God, I shut the windows.
I had 4:10 by 7 o'clock.
I swear, I told Laura that I did, I swear I did. They were all down.
I did the worst thing. I shut all the windows on the suburban once and left the damn sunroof open. Not just the pitched up either, but slid all the way back, cracked it like a swimming pool in there in suburban. Not quite.
Thank you.
I was pretty impressed with myself. All cup holders were full.
That was easy.
Yeah. Well, the carpet got vacuumed down. I should just dumped some soap in there and shampooed it.
Three soaked.
put next week's on there, and I'll just change that one back to what it was.
in the alternate.
I'll be right back.
Have you guys run across any owners that live out of state on the DNR forms for swine buildings? This is the first one I've seen, maybe it isn't. Owners of this are from Spring Green, Wisconsin, Danny or Rhonda Ritter.
Where's that one?
That is on 460th, 13/120, 460th.
Is that the old city on there?
Yep. It's not big, is it?
Yeah.
It is big?
Well, if it's the Albertson one, it's north of Rembrandt.
And the he's in it?
Well, they own the land, farm the land around it.
Oh, he's taking them in there. But the facility name is Albertson.
Yeah. They just tag it that way.
Good.
You have to have some kind of identification for that.
Deputies driving 120 mile an hour past places without their lights.
Really?
Entertain a motion for payroll.
Yep.
I'll second it.
That motion from Stenzer, second from Jenswald to approve payroll claims. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Stand adjourned.
You know, there was a lot of chatter about a swine facility in Wood County. Oh man, the people were worked up.
Really?
What county is it?
Where's this?
Just in the Wood County about,
Why are they,
miles.
why are they working about this one?
Smell.
Oh, it's already built.
Yep.
And it's, well, personally can tell you that I smelled the manure from the one that got built by the golf course when I was out at the golf course.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was overpowering, you know. You know it was, yes.
See you later.